Okay, so we're live again. Sorry for that. We got cut off. You know, nowadays Wi-Fi is not very reliable and stable anymore. I'm not on StarHub, but Singtel and M1 are just as bad, right? So I'm going to go back to what Mira said about the challenges that Benjamin faced, right? So Matthew has created all these challenges, right? So what are these? This is it's part of the plot, isn't it? Right? That she's kind of designed the plot in such a way, right? So he's facing all these challenges, but the question I have is in terms of powerfully, right? When you talk about powerfully, how does she do that powerfully? You know, who what is the demand of the question when it's asking how does Matthew powerfully convey to whom? So my question is this, you need to answer, everybody needs to answer this question. To whom does Matthew powerfully convey these difficulties to? Who is the recipient of this? To whom does she convey his Benjamin's difficulties? Right? When we talk about how does Matthew, look at question number 1. How does Matthew make this passage so powerful? Right? To whom is the passage powerful? Okay, I just want one word. To the. Quickly type. What's the answer? The reader, yes. Thank you. Okay. So, what this does is we kind of like it makes us aware of what is required for such a question. How does the writer convey, right? How does the writer convey powerfully? Okay, so it has to involve some aspect of the reader, isn't it? Right? So we have to mention in what way are these difficulties powerfully conveyed to us? How do we react to these challenges that he faces, to the dilemma that he goes through, to the disillusionment that he feels, to the pain that he suffers? So how do we react to that? Is it by using dramatic irony like what JY is saying? Okay, let's forget about that for a moment. Again, focus on the reader, right? How does the reader react to the difficulties that Benjamin faced? How does the reader react to his disillusionment, his pain, his suffering, right? His dilemmas. How does the reader react to it? How do we react to someone who's going through difficulty? What do we feel? We empathize? Come on. Do we empathize with everybody that's suffering? No, we can't. It's close, it's not empathize. We pity, yes. Okay, so the first thing obviously you must talk about is that, okay, what Matthew does, listen carefully, okay, what Matthew does is she portrays Benjamin, right? This is what she does. As a writer, she portrays Benjamin's character. Okay, this falls under the idea of characterization, isn't it? Right? Characterization. Through characterization. Okay, let me make this bigger and you can see. Right? Through characterization. When we talk about characterization, what she does is she portrays Benjamin, right, as someone who's going through a lot of difficulty, like what Mira says. He's going through so many challenges, right? Okay, but we need to be very specific. Okay, so what this does again, in terms of the question about, right, it creates. Is it just sympathy, right? Who is Elias abusing? His own in his mind, he's abusing his own son, right? He is whipping him with a ox rein. He is tying him up, right? Maybe even, I don't know, abusing him in being so violent and being so harsh towards his son, his own son. So is it just sympathy that we feel? How do we feel about the whole situation? Not just towards Benjamin, but about maybe even Elias, for example, about the way he treats his son, right? Because this is part of the difficulties that is part of the difficulties that Benjamin faced. So how are we powerfully affected by this? How does how does Matthew powerfully convey to us when we see something that is violent, right, and that is wrong, especially towards like done by someone who's not supposed to do it, done by a father towards a son, a father towards a daughter, for example. But that's not relevant here. Towards the son Benjamin, how do we feel? Angry? Yes, we feel angry. We feel disgusted. We feel shock, isn't it? It's shocking, right? So let's write all this down: anger, disgust, shock, maybe even indignance, right? Indignant, for example, because it's unfair, it's unjust, right? We are disturbed by it. Yes, very good. Disturbing. Okay, anger and enrage in the same family, right? So this is what you need to focus on when you're answering this question. Not just talk about, oh, Benjamin has to adapt because he's got so many challenges he's faced, right? And he's suffering, and he has to accept the strangers as his parents. Nobody seems to be there to support him, except Nina. But at this point in time, Nina wasn't even a good companion. He was more of an annoyance, right? So besides just talking about the difficulties, you have to talk about how they are powerfully conveyed. Because of these difficulties, because he is being abused, you are shocked by it. It angers you. Because he is suffering, right? He cries every night, for example. You pity him. You sympathize, right? Because Elias abuses him, you are disgusted by the behavior of the father, so-called father, right? And it enrages you. Okay, so you have to, hi Giselle, you have to mention these things. If not, this part of the question has not been touched on, right? You have not touched on this part of the question. All you've done is touch about this part of the question, and anybody can do this because they know the book just as well as you. Okay? Because when you're answering an exam question, it's not just about the knowledge of the book, right? The knowledge of the book is that you know his difficulties, right? Everybody knows his difficulties, but you know it better because you know which chapters they are from. Okay, who can tell me which chapters? I've chosen 3 chapters. Okay, we're going to move very, very specifically to these difficulties. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a while and ask and go back to the question again. Okay, so not just mention the difficulties that he goes through, right? That he has to go through, but what is the effect on the reader, right? You have to mention this. Okay, number 1, what is his difficulties? Okay, number 2, which is the more important part, how does Matthew convey? Through maybe characterization, through the relationship between Elias or the way Elias treats him, for example, through the dilemma that he has to go through the disillusionment. Is my mother coming or not? I don't think my mother's coming. Nobody brings up someone's things, right, if they're going back. Okay, if they're going to take them back. So he goes through all this mental torture, right? And what you need to do is you need to talk about how it affects you, the reader. Oh, it's you pity him, you feel sorry for him, right? The way he's abused, you are angered by it, you are shocked by it. Okay, but again, at the same time, right, you have to do all this within a certain time period, right? Within a limited time period. So this is a section 1. You have 1 hour 40 minutes. This is your set text. So set text if roughly you divide into 2, you have about 100 minutes altogether, right? 60 plus 40 is 100 minutes. Okay, set text you cannot overdo. Okay, because you have to do the unseen, and unseen takes more time, right? Because the standard paper is 1.5 hours, because there's unseen is 10 minutes more. So 1.5 hours, you have to talk about maybe 45 minutes. You have to focus on this. Okay, for 45 minutes, maximum 50 minutes, you have to focus on this section. Okay, and then you have 2 questions, right? So the first question is on the passage. How many minutes do you give to that? Okay, use this passage as much as possible, maybe 20 minutes, because this next part, you need more time for this part, this second question. Why? Because you have to recall the knowledge, right? Chapter 18, monkey. Why are you a monkey? I don't understand. Mira says chapter 18. Very good, that's correct. Chapter 18 is one of them, okay? Chapter 18 is when he starts to lose hope, right? And this is the part where he comes back from digging. I think he was digging a pit, right, that Elias was doing, and then he realized that his mother and David had brought his stuff, and after that he has another altercation with Elias, and he starts to feel disillusioned, right? He starts to lose hope, right? Even at the beginning of chapter 18, you know, when he's starting to make all the notches at how many, notch 45 or something like that, he starts to lose hope that his mother is not coming back. Chapter 14, correct, absolutely correct, right? Chapter 14 is the part where we are shocked, right? We are angered, we are fully sympathize, feel sorry for Benjamin for being abused in such a manner, okay? When he tried to run away. Okay, first of all, we feel sorry for him because he's always, he's making it. He's such a, he's just a 12-year-old boy and trying to run away in the forest, right? So dangerous where there are elephants. But most importantly is the part where Elias catches up with him, and then Elias violently abuses him, and that is the part where it is so difficult for Benjamin, right? Because he is forced to accept them as a family. He is forcibly, right? We sympathize with him because the way he's so forcibly accept. We are enraged by Elias's behavior. So this, at the end of it, the link that you must write, okay, I'm sorry, I'll push this up. The link that you must write is go back to the idea that it is powerful, right? And this is powerful because we feel sorry for him. It's powerful because we feel enraged, okay? First, one more chapter before 14, when he starts, okay? Before he, before 14, 18, there's one more chapter where he starts to try to adapt to the forest. Remember, the question is, what's the question? Difficulties in adjusting to life in the forest, right? So you have to choose the right chapters, the chapters where it shows he's trying to adjust, right, to life in the forest, and he's having difficulty. Okay, so obviously, when is the first instance that he starts to face difficulty? 14 is not it. 14 is when he is being chased down by Elias. 18 is he spent at least more than a month there. So when is the first time it's difficult for him to adjust? Which chapter? 12, correct. Julia Nicole, you're right. Is it 12? Yes, it's 12. Okay. So we're going to try and look at these pages for a moment, and I'm going to give you time. Not 10. Okay. Mira, but good try, Mira, but it's not 10. Right? If you look at your novel, 10 is not even in the forest, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. If you look at 10, it's in the kloof, right? they were waiting for Benjamin to come back, but obviously they waited in vain. Okay, so 10 is not it. You must know your text very well. Okay, 10 is in the kloof. 11 is when they walk. Oops. 11 is when Fiela wanted to go to Naisna, right? And then she had a flashback. Okay, when Selling Komoti was in prison, right? Was arrested. Okay, so 10 and 11 are out. Okay, 10 and 11 involve Fiela. Okay, so the answer is 12, right? 12. Look at 12. I've already taken a photo. Okay, hopefully it's big enough for you to see. It's here. Starts from here. Okay. Right. Let's make myself smaller. Okay. This is chapter 12. Benjamin sat by the house. He did not cry anymore, for it did not help. He no longer kicked and screamed when they came near him. Something warned him that the man's patience would not hold out much longer. Right, so again, okay, at this point, he's rebelling, he's struggling, okay, but of course, you know, he's not stupid in trying to make the people around him angry, okay, but it's still difficult for him to adjust, right? It did not help not to answer when they called him Lucas. So this is the first part when somebody earlier on said that it's very difficult for him to accept that they are his family, right? That he's known the Komotis to be his family his whole life. So this is the part where he's forced to accept, right? And he's facing difficulty because he's forced to accept them. He can't even, you know, it doesn't even come naturally for him to call them Pa or Ma or whoever. Okay, it did not help not to answer when they call him Lucas. So again, the part where he doesn't respond to his so-called name, right? Okay, so this is the part, all right? It's not so much here. So what happens? You need to ask yourself in chapter 12, what happens? What happens is he starts to form a relationship with Nina. Okay? Okay, but the whole motivation for him to follow Nina into the forest, okay, and listen to what she has to say, comes from the idea that Nina can help him to do what? What does he want to do? What does Nina, how can Nina help Benjamin at this point? What is the difficulty? What is the idea? Yes, escape, right? He's trying to get to Nina to show him. So the idea that he's constantly thinking about escaping, shows, right? Doesn't it? So the fact that he's constantly thinking about escaping, that he wants to find a way out, shows that he cannot accept, let alone adapt, living in the forest. Okay, he can't even accept this idea that he is a Vanruian. Okay, and how does this make us feel? Does it make us anxious, for example, right? That he's trying to escape. It may be a dangerous ordeal, it may be a dangerous thing to do. Does it make us feel sorry for him, right? So that is the first thing we have to think about. Okay. Remember, always go back to the question, how does Matthew powerfully convey? Through the reader's response, right? Through the reader's response to what Benjamin goes through, or what happens in the text, how we respond to those difficulties, or the way he's having difficulty accepting. Whoa, you can see my leg. Okay. Oh, that was my foot. I was taking a photo and then my foot is there. Okay, so we move on, right? Okay, look at this. So this is the part where he finds it difficult to accept them as their family, especially the idea that Bata is his mother and Elias is his father. He says, "Your Lucas that was lost," says Nina, my ma is your pa and my pa is your pa. That's not true. So he vehemently denies, right? I'm Fiela Comite's child. They say she's brown. How can a brown person have a white child? You're our Lucas that disappeared. That's a lie. Again, he violently argues against this. Pa says ma recognize you immediately. Your pa can say what he likes. I'm telling you, I'm not that child. Whose child are you then? I don't know. Was suddenly scared as if trapped. Right? So he is not just in denial, right? Of the idea that he is a Venruian. Not just that. Okay? I mean, to say he's in denial is to assume that it is true. Maybe you shouldn't say he's in denial. Maybe you should say that he cannot accept, right? The fact, the idea. He cannot accept the idea that he is a Venruian, right? He's not in denial, huh? Because in denial is to assume. It's like in denial it's like talking about Elias, for example, right? So maybe that's like not the correct expression. So he can't accept it, and so he denies it vehemently. Okay. So how does this make us feel? Obviously, we feel sorry for him, right? He's in a situation where he's trapped. Okay. So the idea that he is trapped, why you say suspense? Okay. JY, why you say suspense? Is it how we feel? Maybe you've got a point there. He's trying to escape, and he's, something. It could be something that is dangerous for him, right? But of course, we always need to go back to the text, yeah. But he's in denial, and he's denying the idea, right? Okay, again, not relevant here. Okay, so I think chapter 12 is more relevant if you want to talk about how the forest is introduced to Benjamin, and how his relationship with, I think remember we did this before, how his relationship with Nina is slowly developing, right? If you look at page 129, and Lucas seemed better when he and Nina came back for excuse me. As usual, he hardly said a word, but at least the worst sullenness was gone. That night, he waited until Bata had gone to bed before he called him to the table to speak to him. Both your brothers are earning their own keep now. Uncle Martin's offered to give you a place in his woodcutting team, but... Oh. Okay, where are we? I need to use the hard copy. Okay. But I want you here with me at the beam. The child sat looking at him, but he got the feeling that he was not taking in a word. Going to take you want to make beams, right? Okay, this is definitely not bewildered anymore. Right. Okay, so I think that's enough, because we have to keep in mind that there is a certain time period. How many paragraphs do you need to write? You have to write at least 2 paragraphs, right? So you're going to mention this, the idea that he's struggling to accept them as his mother and father in chapter 12, that he denies them to be his family. But what is more important is we need to go and talk about chapter 14, isn't it? Right? Chapter 14, I'm not going to show you any more text, okay, because after this I'm going to give you time to write the answer in the Google form. So chapter 14, we discussed it by Elias's behavior, okay, and so on, right? We are enraged, okay, or we are shocked, for example, okay, because Lucas has to get used to the fact that he has to stay in this forest under the care of someone who is not caring, someone who doesn't probably doesn't even understand the concept of love for uh, his children, right? And this is a struggle for him. Definitely we sympathize with him. It is powerfully conveyed to us in the sympathy that we feel, right? Okay, then we need to look at chapter 18, right? When we feel even more sorry for Lucas, because he's starting to develop what does he develop in chapter 18? In 18 he develops what we call maybe what we call disillusionment, the loss of hope. Okay, in 14 he suffers pain. Okay, in 12, okay, he is torn. He rebels against the idea of being a Van Ruyen. To him, he's not a Van Ruyen, so he doesn't want to accept it at all. Right? He's always he's always trying to find a way to escape. In this like reverse order, we don't know whether you want to talk about. I think what I've been taught before is that you always talk about something that is the most substantial. So if I were you, I would choose either 14 or 18 to talk about, right? But I mean, it's natural to talk about things in chronological order. But what is more important is, you kind of present your introduction, right? Answer the question: how does Matthew powerfully convey Benjamin's Lucas' difficulties in adjusting to life in the forest? By showing us, how Lucas has suffered, right, under the hands of Elias, by showing us the disillusionment he feels, the fact that he's lost hope, by showing us how he is constantly trying to escape. Okay, all these is powerfully conveyed to us because we feel, right, sympathy for him. We are shocked by the way he's treated, and we feel sorry for him constantly, right? Okay, so at this point, I hope you have understood the question better, how to address the question. Okay, so I need you to write 2 paragraphs as usual. Ignore the noise, and into the Google form, right? Choose the content that you think will work best for you. Don't forget to not to always go back to the question: how does Matthew powerfully convey? Talk about his difficulties. Talk about how you feel. Okay, and talk about how that is powerful, right? Don't do the work too quickly, right? Really think about how you're gonna plan your paragraph, okay, your peel structure, and then type it into the Google form. Okay, if you want time to review your answer, don't type it into the Google form immediately. Type it into Microsoft Word or something else, and then read your answer to yourself and edit as you deem right, and then after that you cut and paste into the Google form. So thank you for joining us. When's the deadline? Let me see. Deadline is Monday. Wait, is this correct? Not Monday lah. Deadline is supposed to be today. Today 5 p.m. Do you need an extension? Okay lah, I give you until Monday. Monday 16. I give you too long so you all do last minute. Okay, deadline is wait, what day is Monday? Monday is 20th. When is our next lesson? Do you have the timetable? Okay, no. I'm going to change. Can you do this by Sunday, 5 p.m.? Okay? Deadline is Sunday, 5 p.m. Can somebody type that out? Deadline Sunday, 5 p.m. Okay? I try. I know. The date is wrong. Monday is 19. No, cannot. We have to do it before our next lesson. I have to mark. Deadline is spelled D-E-A-D, not D-A-T-E. Mira. Yes, deadline Sunday 5 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, no chocolate. I give you online chocolate. Bye. If you have any questions, email me, okay?